The most fundamental climbing footwork technique is edging. This is where you're using the tip of your shoe only in order to step on foot chips. You can use the tip of your shoe or just to the left or right of it in order to step on chips. This is the most precise way in order to step on very small chips. And this is the most unique thing about climbing compared to other sports, the way we step on feet. A lot of new climbers like to use the middle of their shoes in order to step on foot chips, which, to be honest, rarely is useful. Instead, you want to use the tips of your shoes only. Next is switching feet. The most fundamental and most useful foot switch is the twist off. This is where you make room for the other foot by twisting the primary foot off of the shoe in order to make room for the next one incoming. I like to opt for the twist off most often because it feels the most secure. You have the most control over the foot and the foot switch. Next is the step off. This is for small or very bad feet. You step with your top foot on the bottom foot and slide that bottom foot off. Next is the jump off, which is a very similar technique, but instead of stepping on the other foot, you jump the first foot off before your second foot can make contact with it. This is a bit of a riskier foot switch, but sometimes it is necessary for really bad feet. Next up is flagging. This is useful for when you don't have an extra foot chip and you need to reach higher. What you do is you twist your body in order to reach up by placing one foot on the wall and twisting your hips. The back flag is in order to reach further in one direction, either left or right. It can help you get a lot of distance in one direction. The same is true for the inside flag. You still want to reach left or right, but it depends on your hands as to whether you need to use the back flag or the inside flag. Typically, I opt for the inside flag because I have more awareness of where my body is compared to the wall. Then we have the heel hook, one of the most fundamental things you can use in climbing. It's good for pulling left or right, bringing your hips towards the wall, resting, perching, it really does it all. You place your heel in a solid position, typically close to the wall, and you point your toe hard downwards. This is where beginners often don't execute heel hooks properly, where they just place their heel and pull on it, and oftentimes it'll slip right out of its position. The key is to point your toe hard down in order to get the most pull out of your heel and be able to put lots and lots of movement on it. In a similar context, we have toe hooks, and this is when you're further away from the hold and you want to reach or move in the opposite direction. Toe hooks are great for resting, but they can often be tiring if you're holding it for too long. You can often use them interchangeably with a heel hook, but the heel is typically more secure and useful, and your hamstring is a lot stronger than your shin is. To properly place a toe hook, you want to have your foot and shin at 90 degrees and maintain that angle hard as you put weight through it. The final fundamental technique is smearing or heels down. This is where you're on a volume or on the wall and you have bad or sloping feet. This will increase your surface area as you force your heel down and get as much friction from your shoe on the wall or volume or foot as possible. You need to put a lot of pressure through your foot and keep your heels down. You also want to be a little further away from the wall because the closer you are to the wall, the better chances you have of actually slipping. You never want to forget that you do still have the wall as an option for a foot. It's not the best foot, but if there's enough friction between the wall and your foot, it can be a nice little boost if you need it. On to the advanced techniques, we have the moon kick. This is when your launch feet are not good and you have to hit a hold that's really high up. You use your leg to swing in order to create momentum upwards. Then you're going to release and jump for your hold right when your swing is reaching its peak. This will help you get a bunch of momentum and reduce the amount of power you need in order to launch for a hold. The foot stab is a technique that will develop naturally as you start to build tension on the wall from specific movements. It's used to quickly relieve this tension by stabbing your foot aggressively on a different foot or onto the wall to the right or left of you. You'll typically find this when you're in a toe hook position or when your hands are not good enough to stop the momentum. The foot stab will stop you from falling off the wall. Knee bars are little gems you can find on the wall that lock yourself in order to free up your hands. This is good for touch finish holds, resting, or just have control over the next movement you're going for. You wedge your quad under a deep hold with your foot directly underneath you. If you have a volume to step on, you can move your foot up and down in order to find the perfect point of compression between your knee and the foot. Bat hanks are essentially a double toe hook, but above you. You can release your hands and basically hang there. It is somewhat dangerous if your toe hooks aren't strong enough, and it is seldom necessary, but they do happen here and there, so it's good to be aware of them. I swear by the alpine knee. This is really anything that comes in contact with the wall as a fifth point of contact. This can be your knee, your calf, your forearm, even just sitting on the wall would count. It's when a high foot is a little too high and you need to put your knee there first. It's totally legit, so don't shy away from an alpine knee. Next is a heel-toe cam, one of the most secure things you can do with your feet. It's essentially the ultimate toe hook mixed with a heel hook. You can unlock very specific moves, such as a precarious hand switch, for example, with a heel-toe cam. Essentially, you set your heel on the foot and then press upwards with your toe. This locks your toe in like a cam in a crack. This is super secure, but it's a little dangerous if you don't release it right away when you fall. When you encounter a runny-do, you'll know when you see it. You essentially are running on the wall. It's a very comp style move, and it's very fun in my opinion. You can do it any number of ways, such as a catch and flag, you can switch feet on one or all of the volumes you're running on, you can cross your feet, hop your feet, skip your feet, you can have your hips towards or perpendicular to the wall. The sky is really the limit with runny-dos. The drop knee is super useful in a corner and is a secure way to reach up or to the left or right. You can rest or you can slowly press to one direction or another. Essentially, you twist your hips and turn your foot upside down in order to get a reach. Then we've got the bicycle. This is best used on overhang to avoid cutting feet. It's essentially a toe hook, but you have an extra foot on top to keep yourself secure and locked in. You can also reach when you have these 2 feet on the wall. You can do it on one foot or across multiple. Those are both considered bicycles. The frog is best used on volumes or larger holds when both sides are difficult to use and very downturned. Doing a frog puts your weight right on top through the middle so you can get a good solid position on the hold. It can also free up your hands to move into a different position. It's also very useful to stand directly up out of a frog. To do it requires strong hamstrings though, so make sure you don't skip leg day. The toe catch is a dynamic toe hook that requires precision. It's often overlooked, but it's very useful for doing dynamic moves where your foot is far away from your hand. The heel catch is in the same boat as the toe catch, but it's often stronger than the toe because your hamstring is a little stronger than your shin. The full foot position is a Zach classic. It's for very bad volumes when you have soft shoes. It's used to maximize your friction on the hold. It's an advanced move because you need to understand when not to use the full foot. The full foot is only for large sloping feet and not for other holds and chips. And if you're enjoying this video, consider putting your full mouse on the like button. The 360 move was all the rage in the 2023 IFSC season. It's a very specific move when you can't match feet because of a blocker or because the foot is too bad. You essentially twist your foot and turn your body to face outwards. Typically, it ends with a foot stab or a dynamic move because there's tension built up from being backwards. Another popular technique in the IFSC involves working with dual techs. Unfortunately, the only advice I have for you is to trust it and be confident. Typically, you just have to use the dual techs the same as you would friction and try to ignore how uncomfortable you feel. A foot jam is used the odd time you find a crack on your boulder or route. You have to be careful with cracks though, because sometimes your foot can get stuck in there, and you need to be confident and ready to release that toe in order to fall off the wall. You place your foot into the crack parallel to the holds or volumes. Then you twist your foot to a horizontal position and then step on the foot using the friction you've created. Vertical heels, bottom heels, double heels, mantle heels. As you progress through grades, heel hooks will start to feel intuitive, and you'll come up with more and more creative ways to use heel hooks in your climbing in order to move upwards, shift your weight, or get locked into a position. And finally, sometimes the best footwork of all is none at all.